Injuries, injuries, injuries. With high-owned players such as Erling Haaland, Dubravka, Gordon all being injury doubts this week, who are their best replacements? Aston Villa have been in fantastic form recently. Is it time to start investing in their defenders? And of course, we've got the clean sheet odds and expected points. These are my thoughts going into game week 17. Right, we're going to start off then by talking about Erling Haaland. After the Luton game, Pep Guardiola said he didn't think Haaland was ready for the midweek Champions League game in Serbia, and we've seen that he's actually not trained for the Champions League game. He also unfortunately said that he'll be a doubt for Crystal Palace in game week 17 as well, and we all know that he blanks in game week 18. They're kind of hoping that he'll be fit to play in the Club World Cup in Saudi Arabia, and that's followed up by game week 19. So if you judge it by Pep Guardiola, the earliest that Haaland is likely to be fit again is game week 19. Does that mean, of course, that we keep or sell him? Now, my idea with this video is not to give you a final decision for your particular team. I mean, the answer comes down to how your team is set up and your preferences, but I think I'm going to make a case to either keep him or sell him, and hopefully those arguments will convince you either way. So in terms of keeping him, right, we don't know how long he's out for. He could be out just for the period that Pep Guardiola says. Back in game week 19, in your team and captain, right? He's got Sheffield United in game week 19, don't forget. And of course, it will cost you 2 free transfers to sell and buy him back. Of course, you'll sell him this week for game week 17 and 18, and then you'll probably want to buy him back, right, for the Sheffield United fixture in game week 19. So ultimately, that's just going to cost you 2 free transfers that, well, given how many other injuries there are in FPL at the moment, you're probably going to want to use them elsewhere. In terms of selling him, well, it's a lot of money to be keeping a player on your bench for a couple of game weeks, right? I mean, 14 million now. Even if you lose a bit of value in him, I don't think that's the end of the world, to be honest. And yeah, it's a lot of money for a player sitting on your bench. There are definitely other decent forwards you can go for with good fixtures, and we'll talk about them in a second. I won't take credit for this. FPL Focal found Alfie Haaland, Erling Haaland's team, and his dad actually sold him. So, yeah, I mean, what can you say there? If he sold him, does that mean you should too? And the point is, you know, he won't be back until at least game week 19. That seems to be the solid news that we've got from Pep Guardiola, right? So that means you're going to be putting him on your bench for at least 2 game weeks. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, is that something you're willing to afford? I put in the bottom there his stats. I mean, they speak for themselves. He's obviously the best striker in the league, got the most goals. His numbers are just ridiculous. But yeah, make your mind up yourself, basically. Hopefully those points convince you either way. If you did want to sell him, I've got a couple players lined up who could potentially come in for him. One thing I will say, I haven't made a slide about Ollie Watkins, because I think if you don't own Ollie Watkins, he's probably the best replacement straight up for Erling Haaland. However, I'm envisioning most FPL managers currently have Ollie Watkins in their team. Certainly most people watching this video. So I'm going to pick 2 players that aren't Watkins, basically. First up, we got Solanke there, 6.6 million. And, well, a little known fact, Bournemouth and Solanke are the top players in the league for expected goals in the last 5 game weeks. Solanke himself is the top player in the league for non-penalty expected goal involvement, and Bournemouth have the highest XG of any team in the Premier League over the last 5 fixtures. Of course, looking at the fixtures coming up as well, they're brilliant. I mean, Luton, Forest, Fulham, then you think by game week 20, you'll have some solid news on Haaland, and perhaps he will be back in the Man City team. So, yeah, for a few weeks, you could well go for Solanke. Great fixtures, as I said, and the thing is with those fixtures as well, you know he's going to be nailed to start and take penalties in them. And yeah, I just think Solanke, given how safe he is to start, 90 minutes, penalties, he is just the logical option, if you're already on Ollie Watkins, of course, the logical option to replace Erling Haaland. But the next guy, he's a bit more punty. Now, he's definitely a bit riskier than Solanke, but I think Callum Wilson is a perfectly decent replacement for Haaland should he be able to stay fit. Now, argument, he currently is fit, right, for the time being, and I'd say he's likely to start for Newcastle, or at least play a decent amount of minutes for them whilst he is fit. He's known to be taking the penalties when Isak's on the pitch. We've seen before, both players have been on the pitch. Wilson is still on the penalties. When he does play for Newcastle, he puts up some insane numbers. You can see there, 1.13 expected returns per 90 is actually better than Erling Haaland. As you can see there, he's on 1.11, so he's putting up better underlying numbers per 90 than Haaland, right? he obviously carries a risk. So if you're bringing in Callum Wilson, you might want a bench or some decent transfers in hand to replace him if he does get injured. But I said with Solanke, he's got great fixtures for the next 3. So does Callum Wilson. He's got Fulham, Luton and Forest. The same 3 that Bournemouth do, just in a different order, which is quite interesting. But yeah, Callum Wilson, Solanke, I think are the 2 best replacements. And depending on your risk appetite, I think will depend on the one that you go for. Now, I wondered if you could do me a favour. If you're enjoying the video so far, please make sure to leave a like rating, subscribe to the channel as well, set the notification bell so you can see when I upload next. If you're really enjoying the video, please consider joining as a channel member. You'll get early access to all of my videos, and when I deadline stream, I'll give you priority when I rate people's teams in Draft Hound. You can also, if you want to support the channel in a different way, check out my shop down below. You can buy yourself a golden goal sticker or a mug. All right, back to the video. Now, Anthony Gordon and Martin Dubravka have not been spotted in training ahead of Newcastle's Champions League tie. Unfortunately, Eddie Howe in his press conference today, he didn't really give much away. He said he doesn't know much about their injury situation and he's trying to manage his players. So I would say Anthony Gordon, I think he'll be all right to play the weekend. I got to say, I think he probably just gets a rest in the Champions League. He's played a heavy amount of games and a lot of game time recently. And of course, he was a doubt for game week 16, but he did end up playing. My view on Gordon is he misses the Champions League game midweek and plays in game week 17. Martin Dubravka, however, he's been nursing a shoulder injury ever since Pope got injured. So basically, Newcastle have had a couple of injured goalkeepers. One thing I would say, goalkeeper with a shoulder injury, I don't think it's looking great for him to start the Champions League game. I think Karius will play a goal for that. And then we're going to be waiting on the Eddie Howe press conference, basically, for game week 17 to tell us if Dubravka might play. I'd say you can't really do anything with these 2 players right now, right? Anthony Gordon, Dubravka, they're both really high owned. They're both great options for their price. So you wouldn't want to be rushing them out if they're going to play at the weekend. It's not like Haaland where you've got some reasonably concrete news as to how long they're going to be out for. With Gordon and Dubravka, we really just don't know. And for that reason, I think I'll just wait till the end of the week to make a decision on both of them. At this stage, I can't really say a great deal. On to Brighton news. Aston Villa have now won 15 straight home games at Villa Park and of course have kept consecutive clean sheets against Arsenal and Man City. So the question is, most of us have Watkins in their team, right? Diaby is a popular option. We all know about both of those. But the Villa defence is not really getting spoken about much at the moment. And with Arsenal and Man City failing to score at Villa Park, particularly at home, is it worth owning Villa defenders? I think it is, and I currently have Martinez in goal. He probably has gone up to 5 million at the time that I make this video, but yeah, I mean, all the arguments remain for him. Of course, he's part of the Villa defence, right? They're in amazing form at home, back-to-back clean sheets against Arsenal and Man City. Martinez is just nailed on to start every game, right? He's, not the Ballon d'Or winning goalkeeper. I don't know what it's called, like the Golden Glove Award or whatever the top goalkeeper award is called, right? He's the best goalkeeper in the world for 2023, according to FIFA in the Ballon d'Or voting. So, I mean, for that reason, he's just going to be nailed to start for Villa, isn't he? And I think regardless of Emery's tactics, he can be switching around that defence occasionally, but he doesn't change the goalkeeper. And one thing with Martinez as well, we've known this in history as well, he makes a good amount of saves as well as keeping those clean sheets. 46 saves in 15 starts is pretty good, averages saves bonus pretty much every game. Yes, he's conceded more goals than games that he started, but I think as the league has gone on, Villa have improved over time defensively, and I think, of course, over the last couple of game weeks, we've seen them being really solid. So, for that reason, given the potential Dubravka injury, could you move him on to Martinez? Of course, as well, Sanchez is potentially out for Chelsea. So if we see that he's not going to play in game week 17 as well, that could be another potential reason to bring Martinez in. I think of all the Villa defenders, he doesn't count the defender, of course, he plays in goal. I think Martinez is the best option. Second to Martinez, I really like Ezri Konsa as an option. He is the cheapest starting Aston Villa defender. Pau Torres is in at 4.6 million, of course, is a viable option as well. I just slightly prefer Konsa because he plays right back most games, right, and shows more goal threat, in my opinion, than Pau Torres does, and he gets forward a little bit more as well. So I think across the season, he will probably get more attacking returns than Torres. And as we've seen, he started every league game so far for Villa. He's been subbed early in a few, but never actually earlier than 60 minutes. And he does seem to get forward in that right back position that Emery has been playing him in. He's showing some goal threat, right? He hasn't scored yet, but he's got 1.4 expected goals and picked up an assist. So, yeah, I don't think he's too bad of an option. Game week 19, probably don't have to start him against Man United, but all those other fixtures, given how good they've been recently, I mean, you could foresee a Villa clean sheet, right? Brentford, Sheffield United, Burnley and Everton. I mean, they could win those games and keep a clean sheet feasibly, in my opinion. So I really like Ezri Konsa as an option if you need a new defender. All right, on now then to the expected points and clean sheet odds. First up, we've got the goalkeepers. Now, I'll caveat this draft hound list by saying, of course, Sanchez is an injury doubt for game week 17. I think we'll get more information as to whether he's going to play later on in the week. He currently is assumed to start by draft hound, and he's actually top. Sheffield United at home, obviously, literally the best fixture you can ask for in the league at the moment, although they have been slightly better under Wilder, I'll admit. 4.5 expected points for Sanchez. Neto in second, Luton at home, very good fixture, and to be honest, I think they could keep a clean sheet, or at least he gets saves in that one. Edison in third place, followed by Alisson, Martinez, who of course we've spoken about, Raya, Dubravka, who again we've spoken about, Pickford, Vicario and Trafford are the top goalkeepers. Defenders, and we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold leading the list. Man United at home is, well, you know, you'd think Man United are a tough fixture, but in reality I don't particularly think they are. They've obviously failed to score at home against Bournemouth and lost 3-0, and well, Liverpool always seems to do well against Man United at Old Trafford, particularly in recent seasons. They tend to score a lot of goals and not concede many. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Trent get an attacking return and possibly keep a clean sheet as well. Trippier is, of course, suspended, picked up his 5th yellow card, so he's not going to be playing against Fulham. Zinchenko, Thiago Silva, Walker, James, who unfortunately has picked up an injury for a few months, Disasi, Colwill, Akanji and Ruben Diaz round off the defenders. Of course, just take out Trippier and James from that list. They're not going to play game week 17. On now to the midfielders. We've got Salah at the top of the list. I mean, 8.9 expected points, Man United at home. Already described that fixture. You know, Liverpool tend to absolutely smash Man United at Anfield, and I don't see that changing in game week 17. Foden, interesting option, I think. Crystal Palace at home, but of course, he does blank in game week 18, so you'd be happy to own him already if you had him, but I don't think I'd be rushing him in with that blank. Saka, it's up to 9 million now. Got Brighton at home, could well score in that game. Likewise, Palmer and Sterling. Sheffield United at home, great fixture. Odegaard, already spoken about Saka. Gordon's up there for expected points should he play. We've got Bernardo Silva, Heung-min Son, Jarrod Bowen rounding off the midfielders. Forwards, and again, we eagerly anticipate any more news on Erling Haaland before the deadline. He is top of the forwards at the moment, expected to start according to Draft Hound, although I think that's a bit in doubt. If he does start, he's going to get 8.6 points according to them. Alvarez in second place, Isak, Watkins, Jackson, Jesus, Solanke, Darwin Núñez, Maupay and Wissa are the top forwards. Looking at the captaincy then, according to Draft Hound at least, regardless of whether Haaland plays or not, Salah is top for expected points, 8.9 compared to Haaland's 8.6. And of course, I think with the injury doubt surrounding Haaland, there's only one man for the job this week. I will be captain in Mo Salah, and there aren't many genuine recommendations in terms of one way to play it that I'd suggest, but I mean, Salah, Man United at home, I think he's going to be a great captain. And finally, we've got the clean sheet odds. So Man City top the list, 60% keep a clean sheet against Crystal Palace, but we all know how that fixture has gone for Man City in previous seasons. Chelsea in second, 58% to keep a clean sheet against Sheffield United at home, although I think under Wilder, Sheffield United have looked a lot better. I'd say Chelsea are likely to keep a clean sheet, but I think 58 is a bit kind to them. Bournemouth, Newcastle, both above 40%. Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton, West Ham, Villa, Tottenham, all above 30. Usually I like to say teams below 30% to keep a clean sheet, I wouldn't want to start their defenders from. Alright, and that's the end of the video. Little roundup there of absolutely everything going on this game week. There's so much to cover. Hopefully I've congested it all into this one video. If you enjoyed it, or actually if there's anything missing you want to know about, any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like rating, subscribe to the Goal and Goal channel, which should be just there, and I will catch you in my next video.